decision. Rajumaya Lavan Zanya Rivada the Varishavan Jidin Jamba Javan de Lambda Vala Lamin on Jedam Sanji Julian. Bejawa Saja Tobana Children. Children Jato Javan Damba Julian decision. Rajumaya Lavan Zanya Rivada the Varishavan Jidin Jamba Javan de Lana Meva Hadam on Jedam Sanji Julian. Bejawa Saja Tobana Children or Children Jato. The Majum then decision about Rajumaya. Dove Sanya Rivada Shazun Damba Devarisha. Jiden Jamba Jivon de Kalo Java Lama Sanjay Jumden Bejawa Shaja Tuva Chata. Children Josu Kande Kanyan Zova Jadam. Sajan de Nakomban de Brunde, one is Jeden de Nachoja. The Zekiama Jona Cha, Zama Namda Koma. Ijazo Sejan Bombona, Chaban Jeden from Gombo Shoni Jola Cha, Zemo Senjo Damaji, Sendo Lava Jola Cha, Zemo the Richard Ziba. Yame Tenjen Jola Cha, Zemo Gombo to Jason. Tamje Kembe, Dambabo, Sonami Denja. Ishin La Cha, Zemo Tabian de Jato. Giving his own legend, Judo Television. Shinju Jola Cha, Zemo Trend. Lava Dama Rabbe, Ne, Shinga Damba. Gideon Cha, Zemo, the Wachian measures. Give up the Zons of Bajia, Rangi Sende Yonsu. Then the Sanje Damba, Karma Rima, Meta, you must have children. Melon Lord and Tindaber, the Jachan, the Dreta, Sonum Dia, Jason. Kavantum, the Ginger, Ladu, Dian, Gadan, Sivison and one Joe
to the teacher, the blessed one, the one gone beyond, the full destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the blessed one, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shaita clan. I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the teacher, the blessed one, the one gone beyond, the full destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the blessed one, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shaita clan. I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the teacher, the blessed one, the one gone beyond, the full destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, teach you, the completely and fully awakened one, the blessed one, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shaita clan. I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When, O supreme among humans who were born on this earth, you paced out 7 strides, then said, I am supreme in this world. To you who are wise then, I prostrate. With pure bodies, forms supremely pure, wisdom ocean, the golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, winner of the best, to you I prostrate. With the supreme science, face like spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. You are immaculate, the 3 worlds are not. Incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior, having great compassion, the teacher, having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean, to you the one gone to thusness I prostrate. The purity which makes one free from attachment, the virtue which frees one from the low realms, the one path, the sublime, pure realities. To that Dharma which pacifies, I prostrate. Those who are liberated and also show the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts. To you, the sublime community intending virtue, I prostrate. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions. Perform only perfect virtuous actions. Subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a mirage, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud. See conditioned things as such. Through these merits may sentient beings attain the rank of all seeing, subdue the flow of faults, and be delivered from the ocean of suffering, of aging, sickness, and death. I go for refuge in time and light, to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the merit I create by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge in time and light, to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the merit I create by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge in time and light, to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the merit I create by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings.
So we are on page 316 of refuting. Okay. So, yeah, refuting the reference, the arising of the consciousness devoid of external reality through the potency of the propensities. So far, the minority school come up with their best kind of logic, right? To constitute the consciousness is intrinsic and truly exists. So even setting the example like dream-like consciousness, so the cognitions which out of kind of eye disease, right? Seeing the floating hairs. The minority school says these consciousness, although their object may not be truly exist, but the consciousness itself truly exists because they are still emerged from the propensity that imprinted within the consciousness. Right? It's something that is not because of the, it's not conditioned by the object. It is conditioned by the imprints, the propensity that within the mind stream that carries the imprints that manifest. So therefore, minority school says object may not be true, but the consciousness is still truly exist. And then now here the refuting the reference, the arising of the consciousness devoid of external reality through the potency of the propensity. So now what the minority school, what they are saying is, so like the dream consciousness seeing non-existing of the object, the cognitions which is influenced by the malady or the disease, eye disease, by seeing the floating hairs, are conditioned by the conditioned by the disease. So then the object that appears, the dream is from the imprints, and the floating hairs is due to the disease, something that is conditioned in the sense faculties, kind of something that disturbs the sense faculties, that allows you to see the floating hairs. So then the consciousness truly exists. And similarly, so then the awake state, the eye consciousness seeing the external reality is not because of the external condition, it is because of the imprints. Because the imprints that left by the ignorance within the consciousness, the stream of the consciousness, that impacts or influence you in your eye consciousness, that seems there is, the color, the shape that externally exists, sound that externally exists, the smell, the taste, textures, all kind of seems to be externally exist. That not because of they do exist by externally. So they are all reflects in your mind because of the misconceptions or the ignorance of, So, so now this has three parts, refuting the reference now. Reference here is refuting the view that cognition's external reality do not arises from the maturation or its lack. So, like for the eye consciousness, seeing the external form, external color, depending on the maturation of the imprints that printed by the ignorance, and the noble beings or the Buddha are not seeing the external reality because of their consciousness lacking that imprints. Right? So truly, Buddha and also sentient beings. Sentient being is seeing the external reality. According to the minority school, sentient being seeing the external reality. Buddha does not see the external reality because the Buddha's consciousness, the omniscience, lacks the maturation of that imprints. So sentient beings sees the external reality because of the propensity that they printed within the stream of consciousness. So now Prasanga is trying to refute that. The first is, that, and the second is refuting the opponent's restatement. The consciousness without external reality exists. So reestablishing, they're saying that there is no external reality. Refuting that, and number 3, how's that? Refuting Cittamatra standpoint does not contradict with the scripture. So minority school thinks this is the Buddha's, no external reality is the Buddha's thought. Yeah. And they also think that in the Langa Sutras and the many and third ten will of the Dharmas, minority school thinks that Buddha actually pointing that there is no external reality. And talking about Heart Sutra, so there's no form, no sound, no smell, no taste. So minority school thinks is talking about kind of non-external reality of the form, sound, smell. They are not exist. And the Langa Sutra mentioned about the the mind basis of all, the alaya. So minority school thinks that, Buddha mentioned this alaya, and Buddha mentioned there's no form, no sound, no smell. And Buddha also mentions everything, Dhammapada, that everything do exist from the mind and act from the mind. There's nothing other than the mind. Right? And then some sutra that says, Rindodo Chibudus. There's only one thing that goes, from the past to the futures, is only the consciousness. There's one thing. So the minority school thinks the Prasanga school is against the sutra. So that here there's a how refuting Cittamatra standpoint does not contradict with the scripture. Langa Sutra, and for the Prasanga school, Langa Sutra mentioning the terms of the alaya, or the mind basis of all, is Buddha talking about the nature of the mind. Is he talking about the emptiness of the mind, not the mind basis of all? Like minority school interpretations of the mind basis of all. And Buddha and Heart Sutra, no sound, no smell, no taste, is Buddha simply refuting the intrinsic nature of the sound, smell, taste, and textures. Is not refuting that they do not exist, right? Not refuting external reality of form, sound, smell, taste. So now here, the refuting the view, the cognition of the external reality arises or do not arises from the maturation or its lack. The first has 2 parts, stating the opponent's position, refuting that positions. Stating the opponent's positions, and here Chandrakirti, the root text, so reads like that. Now, if you assert that such perceptions do not occur in those who have clear sight, because of their potentiality has not matured, it's not merely that cognizable objects do not exist. So the opponent positions. So minority school thinks that, even the floating hair, the object with the floating hair, if that is the conditioning the eye consciousness, that is producing or generating the eye consciousness to see the floating here, which means one who has eyes is free from this the disease. They should see the same thing, right? Mm-hmm. One with eye disease, one without eye disease. Mm-hmm. The both should see the floating here, because the floating here is true because it is conditioning the eye consciousness. So that's the mindfulness school things. So therefore, the floating here is not the condition; it is the reflections that's conditioned by the particular disease. So the disease is causing you to see the floating hairs. And it's not the floating hair itself is conditioning the eye consciousness. So like the dream objects are not the conditioning the dream mind, but rather the dream mind reflects the dream object due to the imprints, right? Due to imprints. So that's mindfulness school reasoning. They says the consciousness, there is no reason you can refute the intrinsic nature of the consciousness. So you can only refute the true nature or the truly existing of the object, the floating hairs and the dream objects and external reality, but you cannot refute intrinsic nature of the consciousness. So the best of their kind of their strong belief is the consciousness always arises from their own cosmic condition. So the consciousness which is arising from their type of cosmic condition, which is the most significant point for the mindfulness school to believe that consciousness is truly exists. Like the sprout, the tomatoes, all arise from their own cosmic condition, so they are all truly exist. So yeah, that's the stating the opponent's positions. Cittamatra granted if the presence of the object such as appearance of the floating hair were the condition for the arising of the cognition, such floating hair should appear to the someone with no eye melody as well. This, however, is not the case. The eye consciousness with no melody is not seeing the floating hair. If asked, and what is it then? It is the maturation or the lack of maturation of the potencies, the propensity, the imprinted on one's consciousness in the past. That causes the arising or the non-arising of the such cognition. Thus, the only person who will perceive the floating hair is someone whose propensity imprinted by the past perceptions of the floating hair have come to mature. Now here a little bit, confusion from the words. Here I think saying there's one is the floating hair is conditioned by the disease, the malady, right? And the eye consciousness seeing the external reality is the imprints. The disease is not the imprints, right? It is external condition, like something imbalance in the elements or some damages on the faculties. So that you cannot consider is the imprints. So here it's when he writes, it's almost they kind of mixed together. Like here the imprints which is causing the eyesight to see the floating here is maturation of the imprints that is done by the disease. Disease is not producing any imprints, right? So the perceived floating here is some of the propensity come to mature. Now, if you assert that such perceptions as that of floating here do not occur in those who have clear sight, and have no eye melodies, because the potentiality or propensity for the perceiving the floating here has not matured in such persons. You can use the potentialities, the conditioned by the eye melody, which is causing the eye consciousness to see the floating here, and the valid cognitions of the eye consciousness to see the external reality is conditioned by the maturation of the propensity that imprinted within the consciousness. So two things. So then it's not merely that such cognitions does not arise because the cognizable object. Now, again, minority school reminding that object is not the condition. The subject is the condition. So subject is truly exist because it's either it born from the imprints or it is conditioned by the certain disease. So because of the object is not conditioning the subject, so therefore you cannot say as object is not true, therefore subject is not true. So this is what Prasangika school trying, like this insisting that. So like object is untrue, therefore subject too is not true. It's equally, if the subject is true, the object must be true. If object is true, the subject is true. So the minority school making distinction that the object is not conditioned by anything. Right? Is so maybe so far the minority schools wins. So now here refuting the positions. So now the key kind of the point that minority school being kind of confident to say that subject is truly exists, but object does not truly exist, is saying because the potentiality of the maturation of the propensity or the potentialities that which has come from the eye melodies. So and now from the language side, and from the language side, it is perfectly fit. Language also says everything that have born from their own cause. Here the potentiality of the disease, potentiality of the imprints, two things, right? So now minority school thinks consciousness truly arises from the propensity. So the propensity is truly produces the consciousness, and consciousness born from that the potential. So now the Prasangika school targeting on that, truly born from the cause. So, so now here, this has three parts: refuting the intrinsic existing of the potentiality in the present cognition, refuting the intrinsic existing of the potentiality in the future cognitions, refuting the intrinsic existing of the potentiality in the past cognitions. So this logic is also called kind of in the consequences in extreme absurdity. The consequences of extreme absurdity. Refuting the intrinsic existing of the potentiality in the present cognitions, but such potential does not exist. So this cognition is not established. Potentiality cannot exist for what is already arisen. For what is not yet arisen to, there can be no potentiality. Now, Prasangika school, using the extreme absurdity, logical, right? Logical extreme absurdity.
There's a, what's the name for it? Absurdism. That's
yeah. It kind of because conventionally it seems correct the way the mindfulness school, kind of lay out the reasonings. So now Prasangika is going to go a little more detail. So you say, the potentialities that is from the imprints that is printed by the ignorance, causing the eye consciousness to see the external reality. Now that question is, now the potentialities which is causing the eye consciousness, which means the potentiality causes the eye consciousness, or potentiality is causing only the object. If the potential is causing eye consciousness, and then where is that potential? With eye consciousness, or before the eye consciousness, or potential is something in after the eye consciousness. Is it in the past, is it in the present, or in the future? Something that eye consciousness emerged from, that very potential. So if you say the potential of that eye consciousness is within the eye consciousness, the present eye consciousness, then the both are simultaneously exist. How can eye consciousness emerge from that potential which is, coexisting with eye consciousness? And then secondly, if the potential is the past, is in the past, and then this present, the arisen consciousness, how can that be born from something that already ceased to exist? Like a raisin sprout, a raisin sprout has no possible of arising once again from the seed which is already past. Right? And then if you think the potential of the eye consciousness is called the future, it is itself is arising. Then the question is the arising of the eye consciousness. So the potential, how can the potential that intrinsically exists truly exist? Because the basis of that eye consciousness which possess that potential is not born yet. So the question here is the eye consciousness born from the potential which is coexisting or the simultaneously existing with the eye consciousness which is in the present, or the potential of the eye consciousness is in the past that caused the eye consciousness, or potential of the eye consciousness means coming of the eye consciousness, to becoming of the eye consciousness. So again say, to becoming is not yet come, not yet born. So there is no eye consciousness yet, but the potential belongs to that eye consciousness, which is not yet born. So something not yet born, how can it has the potential to give rise to anything?
So they're kind of the Prasangika school is kind of pointing out the flaw in saying that that consciousness is truly existent because of cause and effect.
Yeah.
They're saying, so if it's cause and effect, where is the thing that's causing it beforehand? Like, where can you pinpoint it?
So I think in the language and the grammatical, there are two ways of kind of expressing the potential of the I consciousness, the potential, right? Impermanence of the table is impermanent, right? Two things. So when we say the impermanence of the table, now the table is the characteristic. Impermanence become the basis for the characteristic. If you say the table is impermanent, and table is the basis, and impermanent is the characteristic from the language. So the potentiality of I consciousness is also we call in the grammar you call namye chupa. That is what is the English word for that? 6 genitive case. This is like someone's name, So it expressed the relation, the potentiality of I consciousness, the seed of the sprout. So it's kind of, there's the relation. So the relations, it expresses potential and I consciousness as a separate, and the relation is also expressed, they are not different. So this is like the winner, winner of the person and the person who wins. So they are not different, but still language express as the two separate entities. So yeah, 6 genitive case. Or there's some another word for the English word that is anyway. So now here, potentiality of the I consciousness. So the Prasangika school, the pointing that, the minority school say I consciousness is arising from the potentialities. And what is that potentialities? Is the potency that is imprinted within the consciousness. Right. So to become the I consciousness, to become the I consciousness which is seeing the external reality. So the potentiality is cause for the I consciousness, or it is a conditioning the I consciousness to see the external reality, or it is influencing the I consciousness to see the external reality. But potentiality is, is the one that the I consciousness emerged from. Therefore, I consciousness which with defective, right? So here you say, you cannot say the potentially, the I consciousness which is born from its potential and is a truly born from or intrinsically arising from. So that's at the Prasangika school, how to say, hold on to the meaning of the intrinsically arises. Mm-hmm. If intrinsically arises means the potential of the I consciousness and I consciousness are two different things. and and then you say one is the cause, one is the effect, and then both are, exist simultaneously. So if both exist simultaneously, how the other one has emerged from the the things that's coexisting with it.
This goes back into the cause. It's not separate from the effect. Okay, right.
So like it's barley seed and sprout, there's a barley sprout and there's another barley seed together. So can you say this barley sprout has emerged from this barley seed? No, right? Because these are, coexist or they simultaneously exist. Mm-hmm. So barley sprout has to be born from the seed which has already ceased to exist. So if they truly exist or they intrinsically arising, and then either the potential, must be existing simultaneously with the I consciousness, the present I consciousness, or the potential of the I consciousness, potentiality exists in the past, or the potentiality exists in the future. So if there were an intrinsically existent potentiality, one might allow for the possibility of the occurrence or non-occurrence of the cognitions on the basis of the maturation or the absence of the maturation of such potentiality. So without that potentiality or without the potentiality of the imprints that is printed by the ignorance, and there is no I consciousness can see the external reality. With the maturation of the potentialities, the imprints that printed by the ignorance, and therefore the I consciousness see the external realities.
Geshe, just the basis of the maturation, is that implying an inherent arising or inherent being born?
No. Here, minority school, from the minority school perspective, thinking that Buddha do not see the external reality. Mm-hmm. Sentient being sees the external reality. So the sentient being sees the external reality because there is the maturation of the imprints that is printed by the ignorance. And Buddha do not see the external reality. There is no maturation of the imprints or the potentiality printed by ignorance. So like one who has a clear sight is not seeing the floating here because there is no maturation of that disease. And one with disease, with melody, I'm melody, is seeing the floating hairs because there is the maturation of that particular disease. So that's my knowledge school says. Mm-hmm. So the point is the maturation of that imprints is there or not. Therefore, is the maturation of the imprints or the potentiality is there, and then you see the external reality, you see the dualistic object. So that's the mind-only school says. Now the Prasangika school not questioning, it is they are not refuting the I consciousness is not born from maturation of the imprints. So Prasangika school is a questioning. You said it intrinsically arises. That's the first target. Mm-hmm. So we are not questioning about, I consciousness born from maturation of the imprints or not. We are questioning that you say this born from the maturation of the potentialities. And now that should be intrinsically. Mm-hmm. It intrinsically, and where is that potential? Is it in the present or in the future and the past? But such inherent established potential does not exist. So the mind Prasangika school says there is no such inherently established potential. So these cognitions you assert to be intrinsically real is not established. So there is no intrinsic potential, there is no intrinsic imprints. So therefore there is no maturation of the, there is no intrinsic maturation of any imprints of potential. So how is it that it is not established? You might ask. When you conceive of such potentiality, is it associated with the present cognitions? Alternatively, is it connected with the past cognition or the future cognitions? So now questioning here is the I consciousness born from the potentialities. Is that present potentiality with that very I consciousness, or I consciousness the past or the future? Now for the what is already arisen is the present. So that is the present cognition. No such intrinsically real potential is possible. Such a thing cannot exist. So the I consciousness, which has to be born from the potential that I consciousness born from is existing with, simultaneously with I consciousness. For what is not yet arisen, the future too, there can be no such potentiality. The potentiality do not exist in the nature of the future and not in the nature of the past. Nor it can be exist with the present cognitions. So now this is kind of, for the long run, Prasangika school refuting all the imprints, storage in the alaya, mind basis world. So there is no such thing that it carries all the potential. For instance, when one asserts the potentiality in the present cognitions, the cognition and the potentialities would exist simultaneously. In that case, if the relationship between potentiality and its barriers is represented by the sixth genetic case as the cognition's potencies.
So that is that the Ali, that mind basis of all.
Huh?
The cognition.
So this is the kind of expression in the expressions. As I mentioned, table is impermanent, or the impermanence of the tables. There's two, what do you call it, sentence or
Phrase?
phrase? Yeah, more like phrase. So it kind of it indicates there's the relations of the two entity. The two cannot be separate entity.
Mm-hmm.
So the cognitions, potencies. Yet the potent, the cognitions, cannot be same as the potentiality itself. So they are not one, they are not different, the same. For if it were, and then the effect would have no cause distinct from the effect itself. If there were one, potential, the potency of the I consciousness, of the cognitions. If there are one, and there is no distinctions, one is the cause and another is effect. Right? If they are different, so then like horse and cow, so there's no relation at all. So it's furthermore, even when the sprout is born, the seed. What's that? Furthermore, even the sprout is born, the seed would persist without disintegrating. So if they are independent, the potency and the cognitions, right? If there are two different things, and therefore they are independent, like apple and orange, then, so there is no reason to say when the orange is born, the apple is still there. So why not the potency is still there when the cognition is already arisen? In that case, when the sprout is already arisen, seed is still witnessing the sprout is born. When the milk and yogurt is present, and then their continuity of that milk still persistently existing without disintegrating. And you can make that milk again yogurt. So you can have, today one milk, yogurt from milk, and milk still there, not turned into yogurt, but still there is the yogurt. And then you can make another yogurt. And another yogurt happened, the milk's still there. So
so like multiple consciousness,
like
multiple moments of consciousness. Yeah.
So we're saying that when the effect manifests, the cause should not be there. It is already turned into that effect. So if the cause and effect means when effects is manifested, the cause must be turned into that effect. Therefore, the cause does not exist with that effect. So then how can this tree be independent? Even when the sprout is born, the seed would persist without disintegrating. If, however, the relationship between potentiality and its barrier is represented by the fifth as an ablative case. Now here this ablative case. 6 genetic case and ablative case. They're all born from, they are come from Germany. So in Tibetan and grammar, they use namya-tupa, the phrase that expresses the relation of the two entities. So relations, so when this kind of the phrase.
Yeah, grammatical clause phrase. Yeah.
Yeah. And also we said, this is my car, this is my tree, this is my house. So me and what you belong, the object is independent. Right. But when you say, this is the tomato seed, so then this relation shows that they are now different. Right. This is tomato's owner, the person, and there is the two, position and the owners, the possessors are two different things. So fifth, ablative case as a cognitions from potentiality. Now here is saying, the potency of the cognitions or the cognitions, the potency, whatever you say, the relation is, one is the effect, one is the cause. So because they are cause and effect, they are not different. Because they are cause and effect, therefore they are not identical. Right? So it would be incorrect to assert the cognition already arisen emerged from a potentiality that is, what's that, contemporaneous to it. So contemporaneous means irrelevant, right?
Now. Contemporaneous means like now.
Relevant, or there's simultaneously.
Yes.
Yes. Potential that is contemporaneous to it. So, if the cause and effect simultaneously, so they are not in the relation. For there would be the consequences that effect would already exist at the time of the cause. So the so-called potentiality that purported the cause of the cognition does not exist in the present cognitions. So therefore, the potentiality of the cognitions or the potency of the cognitions, whatever you say, that both cannot be simultaneously exist. So therefore, if the potentiality of the I consciousness, the potentiality do not exist at the time of the I consciousness. Right? If the seed of the particular sprout, that seed must not exist, within that sprout or within the time of the sprout. So now you say everything is born from the potentialities, but potentialities, the way it produce the cognition or the any effect, you also assert that it is intrinsically producing, truly born, truly produced. If the truly producing, and then either the potentiality has to be exist, within the time of that present effect, or the potentiality precede by the effect, or it exists in the future. Otherwise, there is no potentials which is producing any effect truly. So that implies the Pasangic school do not accept the cause is producing the effect truly. No milk is producing yogurt truly. So yogurt never born truly from the yogurt. So the relatively or conventionally. I think it's very kind of in the mundane and in the mundane perceptions, we can say Sunday is born from Saturday, but we don't say I am born from yesterday me. But still the same, right? They're continuously the same, but we don't say it. So if the true, and then we can still say, 3 o'clock me is born from 2 o'clock me, myself. So refuting the intrinsic existing of the potentiality in the future cognitions. Without the now the root text reads, without the qualifier, there can be no qualified. As the Kebram levels, without the characteristic, there is no barrier or the basis of the characteristics. If the basis of the characteristics not exist, there is no characteristic. Right.
Is this like that whole like the color, the leaf's color is not separate from the leaf, like a green leaf?
Yeah, when you say the green leaf, the color of the leaf, so the color is the characteristic.
Mm-hmm.
So without the leaf, there is no greenness of the leaf.
Right.
And the greenness of the leaf is not there, no leaf is there. The basis of that, the leaf, is not there.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So which means anything that you have characterized, so once the characteristic exists, means the basis of the characteristic already exists. When the basis of the characteristic exists, yes, there must be a characteristic. Right. So the same. It's going back to the same main point, like the potency, the cognitions, the potency, or the potentiality of the cognitions. The both shows the relation. One is the characteristic, one is the basis of the characteristics. Other than that, it is not like, this is the, this is his tree, this is his car. It's not like that. The potency of the cognitions or the cognitions, the potency is not a person's belonging object. Right. So without qualifiers, there can be no qualified. Otherwise, even the barren woman's son would have such potential. So that's like extreme, absurd inconsequences, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you speak of the potentiality because the consciousness will emerge, there will be no cognition since there is now no potential. So things that exist through the, natural dependence have no true existence. So the sublime one have taught. So now it's a play, that's characteristic and the barrier of the characteristics, quality of the barrier of the qualities. They only exist when the thought plays in that way, when the word expressed that way. This can be only seen, the existence of that in the face of the thought, in the verbal. Right? So therefore, they do not exist intrinsically. So now if you content, right? Content means?
Oh, like if you put this forward, if I contend.
So it's like if you persistently insist in that way, saying, things that born from intrinsically. So if you contend that the potentiality exists in the not yet recent cognitions. So there is the following analysis when we related the two terms in the phrase potentiality of the cognition. Potentiality is the qualified, and the cognitions is qualifier. So this Chandrakirti text, this has so many, differentiating of this, the word, how word plays, potentiality of the cognitions. So first shows that, first it presents the potentialities and whose potential or cognition's potentiality. So therefore, the potentiality of the cognition, the potential has to be the barrier of their characteristic, is the basis. Like table's impermanence. First, says table. And first impermanence. And whose impermanent? Table's impermanent. And table is impermanent. First, the basis is the table. What is table? It is a permanent or impermanent. Then it's impermanent. So, potentiality of the cognitions, propensity is the qualifier and the cognition qualifier. However, when you come to the future or not yet arisen cognitions, one cannot characterize it in a positive term. So you cannot say, because we say the potentiality of the cognition, so therefore there is the cognitions which is truly born from the potentialities. So we should, saying cannot be characterized in positive term. When you say the terms as the cognitions, nor it can be positive term as negative terms, as non-cognitions in the sense of something with intrinsic existence. So when you say there is no cognitions which is truly born from the potentiality, is you cannot say therefore nothing is born from the potentialities. So not truly born from potentialities is not kind of constituting nothing can be born from potential. So you can say barley sprout is, generally, conventionally, barley sprout is born from the barley seed, tomato born from the tomato seed. But at the same time, say, no tomato has born from the tomato seed truly, right? So the tomato must not be born from the seed truly or intrinsically. You cannot take that as tomato is not born generally from the tomato seed, right?
I didn't quite get that. Truly, not born truly. If you say if something is not born truly, that's like saying it's unborn. It seems to be rejecting the possibility that a potential can arise, something can arise and manifest from a potential. If it's not born truly, then I guess it's almost like saying, how can anything be born?
Yeah.
Nothing born truly.
Yeah. That's very good, yeah. When I say Larry is there truly, so ready, Larry is there truly. And then in other words, Larry is there. I can show you. Mm-hmm. He's there. So you can also see him. Right? So that's the correct, Larry is there. So when I say, really, Larry is truly there, and you will say, is it in your iPad? Mm-hmm. Is he in your iPad? Mm-hmm. Or mm-hmm. on the glasses of the iPad, mm-hmm. right? So is it in the floor? So I'm pointing here. Lord Larry is truly here. So the here is kind of the what do you call it? The way you present things. So when you add truly means as it you express, as it appears, as it can conceive. So that is not correct. As it conceived is not true there. When the person with as a thirsty man, right? When he imagined the water, he sees the water as imagination, right? When the hungry persons imagine they conceive the food, and he kind of there's water when he imagined that. So which means he sees the imagination inseparable with that food. So as it imagined, as it conceived is not true. But when he expressed, I want this kind of food. So this is the way the sentence has no mistaking. So it's not truly as it conceived is exist, as truly as he imagined is not there. So therefore, similarly, barley sprout is born from the barley seed, but barley sprout is not intrinsically born from the barley seed. Barley sprout is not truly born from the barley seed. So you have to understand that not truly means now as it you imagine is not there. Right.
That seems like, I think, is it in one of the 4 points of refutation, like identifying the object of negation? Like very clearly, that was something that I was kind of struggling with. Like, what does it mean for something truly? But when you describe it as like, as it's directly conceived, unequivocally, that makes it a lot more clear in that sense.
So it's a true means there is no, it's a perfectly,
right?
It's perfectly there.
Unmistaken.
And yet, as you imagine, as you word, as you conceive. So, and why is not truly there? Why is not the barley sprout is not truly born from the barley seed? So then, as you conceive is not true, because you think the barley sprout is born from the barley seed, means barley seed is there to produce the barley sprout. So no barley seed is there physically by producing the barley sprout. No barley sprout has physically there being born from the barley seed. But your language is expressed, thought is conceived and imagined that way. So we are not really trying to correct our language. So we are, we don't need to, right? We don't need to. So if you go correct your language, then every day you have to change the language.
Yeah.
So so just keep the imperfect language there, and then you understand the meaning behind that, the languages. So this is a Prasangika school. Now, minority school, as the Vibhashika school, the Siddhantika school, even the ordinary people way things. Does it truly exist? Yeah. Barley sprouts born from the barley seed. So where, other than the barley seed, where it can be born from? It's not from the rice seed, not from the tomato seed. It's only born from the barley seed. Therefore, it's truly born. As you speak, there is something you can understand. So that is the truth. That is only the kind of, the level of the truth is there. And then if you go a little bit deeper, you say the barley sprout is born from the barley seed. Have you ever witnessed the barley seed physically, kind of existing physically there on the ground or under the ground, under the soil, physically producing the barley sprout. Have you ever witnessed barley sprout physically there and being born from the barley seed? Then we say, oh, that is also one of the truth. So which one you go? Barley sprout has no witness the born from the barley seed, you accept, or as you word, the barley sprout has to be born from the barley seed because barley sprout is not born from the rice seed. So which one you go? So we say, yeah, one we accept conventionally, another we say is ultimately. So you cannot say because you have never witnessed the barley sprout physically there in the present time and never witnessed it has born from the barley seed. So therefore, you reject the barley sprout born from the barley seed. No, we don't reject that. That we say is a conventional, relatively. So we understand the barley sprout is not born from other than the barley seed, not from the rice seed, not from the orange seed, not from the tomato seed. So only from the barley seed. So, that there is some trueness, there is some reality. So this reality has to be remain as you conceive, as you imagine, as you wrote it out. So beyond that, there is no trueness of that. So if they're beyond that, that is in the mental, that is in your thought. So other than thought, what you have in a sense perception, your eye consciousness. Now the question to the eye consciousness, have you ever witnessed the barley sprout that is being born from the barley seed? No. I believe this is how we say it. This is the way you understand. So there's the thought and the direct perceptions. The way the mode of engaging with the object is different. So don't worry about, any destroying the damaging of the languages. We just simply understands there's something, the true nature of any relation of the cause and effect. That is that can be understand or revealed beyond the concept. So right now we are in here two. However, when it comes to the future or not yet arisen cognitions, one cannot characterize it as positive term. So not yet arisen or unarisen, it is not the same meaning of not arising, right? The future is not yet arisen, unborn. But therefore we cannot say it is never arises, right? So it's something unarisen, not yet born, but it's also in the concept, yes, it is arising. So something which is not arisen, and yet to be arisen, is arising. So that is not for eye consciousness, that's for your concept. Mm-hmm. This for you is kind of suitable for the languages in your thought. So characterizing the positive terms, cognition nor can it be characterized in a negative term. So nothing arises. No future sprout has arises. Is not the same, is not going to arise. Right. So non-cognitions, in the sense of something with intrinsic existence. The furthermore, since the future cognition does not exist in the present as a cognition, how can one qualify such potentiality in terms of this potentiality is of this cognition? So there is no way you can say, both at a simultaneously say, this is the potential, this is the cognition, this is born from this. Right? So we say cognitions born from the potentiality. Potentiality are the cause which produces the cognitions. So that only we can. We are kind of perceiving conventional reality in a concept. Right? So you cannot. There is no language. This potentials producing this cognitions. This means something is very close, something there in the present time. So potential and the cognitions, they're both not in simultaneously. So yeah. So this is not possible. So without the qualifiers, without the characteristic, the cognitions, there can be no qualified. So without the qualifier, cognitions potency, right? So which means a cognitions potency. So is the potency which belongs to the cognitions. So the qualifier is the cognitions. Potentiality of the cognition or the potency of the cognition is the same. And then, so there can be no qualified. The potentiality, otherwise, there would be the consequences that even the barren woman's son could have such potential. So that is extreme absurdity in the consequences. So here it's yes, barley sprout is arising from the barley seed, but barley sprout is not arising intrinsically. Not arising intrinsically means there is no such sprout as yet to be born, and it is by itself has the activity of the born from the body seed. If that is the case, if this is the possible, then there must be barren woman's son, could have, come to you or bring harms to you, or the rabbit horn that can poke your stomach, right? So, which means the future, there is no such thing in the future by itself representing I am the future, or by itself as any activity. If that is the case, if that is possible, then the rabbit horn can, poke the stomach. So that's the extreme absurdity in the consequence, right? Hajang Tao means like what else sometimes is that the person can eat 80 bagels in a month, right? So because the person eats 80 bagels in a month, is there any person who eats, in the one moment, the 80 bagels? So he says, so if there's a potentially or intrinsically someone can eat, so then yes, the person can eat at the same time, right? Same time, or yeah, in one time he can eat 80 bagels because there is person who eats 80 bagels intrinsically. Getting it? So I'm trying to explain what is the how's that extreme absurdity in the consequences. So the Prasanga school says, if any sprout as a futures which has the activity of arising to becoming by itself, then the barren woman son can come to knock your door. So that's the kind of extreme absurdities. Yeah, so thinking of specific cognitions that may emerge from its potentiality, the opponent might assert, when we say this is the potentiality of these cognitions, and it's from these potentials. So both are this cognition, potentiality, both in the same time. That this cognition will emerge. The two become qualifier and qualified. For example, in the worldly convention, the one use imperative like cook rice, weave cloth from the thread. On the basis of the imagining cooked rice and the weave cloth, woven cloth, right? In the treasure of Abhidhamma 2, when the author writes, the womb born is threefolds: universal monarch and the true self-erasing one. He is speaking of someone entering the womb who will in the future become the universal monarch. So here too, we are speaking of potentiality of the cognition because we are thinking of the cognition that will emerge. So when we say Monday is coming, Monday is coming. So this was not the meaning that Monday is already there, waiting for its time. Right? So we say when the Sunday ends, the Monday become. Therefore, we say Monday is coming. So someone will born means monarch will born, and such month or day. So which means there is no monarch already exists, and he is, entering in the mother's womb. Right? So with his whole dress and going into mother's womb is impossible. So now this is the kind of same analysis of not intrinsically arising. So not intrinsically arising. The weave a cloth from the thread. So the cloth is not already exist, not yet exist, but cloth can be conditioned, by weaving the thread. So it will come in the future. So the future coming of that cloth is not intrinsic. It's not truly exist. How can that be truly born from something? Right. The womb born is threefold. He is speaking of someone entering the mother's womb who will, in the future, become the universal monarch. And so here too, we are speaking of the potentiality of the cognitions. The cognition is like a future is going to be born. So the potential cannot coexist with cognition. Right? Potentialities is not going to be existing simultaneously with cognition.
It says one born is threefold. Are they talking about the 3 times?
No, not 3 times. 3 folds. So the monarch and the self-realized arhats and ordinary peoples. Mm-hmm. So this is the monarch when they enter mother's womb, right? So they sense that this is the time that now I'm going to born. And then the very moment coming out from mother's womb, and they also have kind of cognitions, understand, now I'm going to born, really born. Yeah. And arhats, so they enters, they understand, they realize their interest. And when they ready to born, they do not have, just faint, could not really. What's happening, they don't know. So the ordinary people from the beginning fainted, and when they're born, no notions, no recognitions, no recollection of anything. So the monarch, so when they're born, they know. Between they forgot. And the time to born, the day they're coming out from mother's womb, and they also have they have a sense of knowing that now this is the day, my birthday. So normal people we never have, any awareness, this is the day I born. So because this thing in Mayan traditions, the universal monarch is called Bodhisattvas. They are all 8 bhumis, 9 bhumis, those Bodhisattvas. I don't think they have sense of, I am a universal monarch. Now I just born in mother's womb. They are not, right? So response, this rejoinder too is pointless. If something does have existence on occasion, is something occasionally or advantageously the born, then at the same point in the time, such effect will come into being in a contrast. Things that will never come into being, the son of the bearer woman barren woman, unconditioned space, for example, will come into being neither in the present nor at any subsequent point in the time. So, although one might accept the occurrence of the cognitions, if intrinsically real potencies do exist, so given that no such intrinsically real future cognition exists at any time. So the extreme is saying that we are not saying this is like rabbit horn and Baron's woman's son, so therefore there is nothing arising from the cause. We're saying things arise from the cause, but they do not arise from the cause intrinsically. That intrinsically arising is like Baron's woman's son and rabbit horn. So although the one might accept the occurrence of the cognition intrinsically real present exists, given that no such intrinsically real future cognition exists in any time, the potentiality that produces such cognitions does not exist at all. Therefore, just like the son of the barren woman, since there is now no intrinsically real potential producing cognitions, there will be no occurrence of intrinsically real cognitions. So now coming to the point for the minority school says the I consciousness which sees external reality is intrinsically born from the potentiality of the imprints. So the Prasangika school says, so we can accept that I consciousness is born from the potentiality, but we cannot, accept that I consciousness which sees external reality are intrinsically born from the potentiality. So intrinsically born means that the potentiality that which I consciousness is born from, either is if intrinsic, it has to exist same time with the I consciousness, or in the past, or in the future. So if in the future, which means when the I consciousness not born yet, so at that time the potential still there with the future I consciousness. So now it's saying that when the I consciousness at the time in the future is not arisen yet, how can it uphold the potential? The very nature of the I consciousness is not born yet. So the refutations here is the intrinsic, born from the intrinsic potential. Still, Prasangika school, not yet ready to convince the minority school that consciousness is not intrinsically exist. So, in numerous instances of the Madhyamika's refutations of the sprout arising by virtue of its own characteristic, the consequences like the following are leveled at the opponent. If the sprout can arises even though it does not exist at the time of its seeds, if the sprout can arises even though it does not exist at the time of its seed, then such things as the horn of the rabbit too could come into being. So now the question is, if, when there is a milk, the yogurt is coming tomorrow, but still the coming of the yogurt tomorrow is still with the milk and being ready. And then this is like rabbit hole. There is no yogurt getting ready. Right? There is no yogurt, within the time of the milk getting ready. So which means because the yogurt has not born yet, not exist yet. So none exists, unborn. If still has the activity of getting ready, then why not the rabbit hole have any activities? So consequently, the following suppose even though come into being, the significance of the hurling such extreme absurd consequences is this. Significance of the hurling such extreme absurd consequences is this. And an intrinsically existing sprout, if it lacks the existing at any sprout, right?
Particular point.
Yeah, I'm lost.
If it lacks existence at any particular point.
It's particular point of time. If lacks existing at particular point of time, would have no existing at all at any time. Such a sprout would thus be, indistinguishable from the something with no existing whatsoever. The significance of the hurling such extreme absurd consequences is this. The intrinsically existing sprout, if it lacks existing at any time, any particular point of the time. So intrinsically existence, like rabbit horn lacks existing at any time. Right? So similarly, intrinsic existing of the sprout is also never exist in any time. So would have no existing all at any time. Such sprout would thus be indistinguishable from something with no existence whatsoever. So the inherent arising, intrinsic arising, is exactly the same as a rabbit horn, not exist at all any time. So why they throw the extreme absurd consequences? So that's what Prasanka was going to say. The rabbit horn is exactly the same intrinsic arising of the sprout. That's why they pushes that, extreme absurd the consequences. In this point, the potential, it's potently, right? Not the case that in general, if sprout can arise even through it's not present at the time of its cause. So generally, if sprout can arise even though, right, it is not present at the time of its cause. Yeah, that's true. Generally, even the sprout is not born yet, it can still arise from their seed. Right? Monday is not born yet, not exist yet, but it can be born from the end of the Sunday. Then the horn of the rabbit can also come into being. So it is not present at the time of cause. So through this reasoning, such example as the cooked rice are explained. So when you say, please go and cook the rice, so it's almost the same like, please weave this cloth from that particular thread. Right? So the cloth is not yet exist. So the coming of that cloth from that weaving, the thread, is not intrinsically. It's just conceptually, just imagination. It exists. So therefore it's not intrinsic. It's not truly exist. For if things do come into being through their intrinsic nature, then the potential things such as cooked rice would become the totally non-existence. So furthermore, perhaps you have the opponent say that it is relation to the potential emerging cognitions that its potentiality is presented. And similarly, it is in relation to such potentiality that cognition is presented. Hence, two things exist through the mutual dependence. So the arising of the sprout and producing a seed which is in the process of producing the sprout. They are mutually dependent, the cause and effect. By depending on effect, there is a cause. There is a dependent cause, there is the effect. There's mutually dependent. Reply, this is exactly why the Sublime One taught that cognitions have no intrinsic or true existence. In the commentary, Chandrakirti stated that relational existence like long and short, here and there, and so on exists as imputed constant. So on exists as imputed constant. And that there lacks existence through the intrinsic nature. Therefore, one should understand that this is not the existence in general that is being negated in the relation to these things. Rather, it is their intrinsic existence, this is being rejected. This distinction must be understood. Now, if you Cittamatra speak in such terms of the relationality, you are then actually following our discourse. So, Prasangika is also in the conceiving that now minority school is, in the Prasangika school side. Now you can understand my world. Mm-hmm. So you are then actually following our discourse. In short, such potentiality does not exist even in the future cognitions. Such potentiality, intrinsic potentialities. So usually called potential So we say we have the potential to become the Buddha. We have potential to become the Arhat. The angry man have the potential to be compassionate one, right? Compassionate one has the potential to be very angry person. So if those potentials are intrinsic, then is the big problem. If they're intrinsic, the compassionate person have the intrinsic potential to be rude, to be aggressive. So he simultaneously has to act compassion and be aggressive. So because the potential is not intrinsic, therefore, when he manifests in compassionate, there is no sin to him is aggressive or rude. When he manifests in the rude, there is no compassion side to sin. So which proves the potential are not intrinsic, is adventitious, the potentials. So it is possibility, the possibility of changing in this way and that way and this way. So that is known the potential. Potential is not really substantial thing. Right. Yeah. I think we should go one time. So then maybe there's a potential to understand. So if the potential is there, we don't need to kind of put effort, right?
So it's almost like there's a distinction between potential and possibility. Potential being you were almost guaranteed to kind of follow down a certain way because it is
possible for you to be like that.
Right.
It is possible for you to be like this.
But possibility is more,
it's not really intrinsic, it's not substantial.
Okay.
So you are, because kind of any manifestation of yourself, any manifestation of yourself, as a human being or animals or whatever, or good person or the bad persons, whatever any manifestation of yourself is coming through the potential. So therefore, the potential is, there is no intrinsic potential. There is not like it's not like what do you call the pillar. There's kind of how say it, lined up, and each pillar says, "I am this, I am this." Because your consciousness is right now is undergoes, with the not knowing the realities. So you are, what you call it, innocent, or you are not known the reality. Until there, you can be changed anything. Right? You can be good person sometime, bad person. It's all, because you are distanced from the reality. So then that is the possibility of you become good person, bad person, good person, bad person, every time you change. Because you haven't seen, that what to act with reality. You have only interact with what you have conceived, what you have projected. So your reaction is from the projection. So the imprints and the projections and the habit. So the Buddhist mind is, kind of steadily, settle into the reality, because there is no possible him changing, all the time. So like a blind man walk from the projections. So 5 steps, there is, there's the table, and 10 steps, there's the kitchens, She projects it, like sentient beings who are not known the reality as it is. They always go with projection. So therefore, their emotions is reacting with their imprints. So there is many potentials. So that potential is not something intrinsic by itself. It's not really substantial. It is just possibilities. So therefore, the sprout arising from the barley sprout arising from the barley seed is also the possibility. It is not certain, because the barley seed, to produce the barley sprout, depending upon soil, water, weather, all of that, right? And and it has to be passed through the obstacles. The birds, pigs, and parrots, they pick the seeds from the soil. So all the fire can destroy it. So when you pass through all these obstacles, and perfectly depending on the corporate conditions, then it may give rise to the barley sprout. So therefore, again, the barley sprout arising from the barley seed is possible, or suitable or the possible. The possible because of the time, it is not certain. Suitable because this only produce the barley sprout, not the tomato, not the orange, because the sprout follows its own time. Okay, now, so we'll go read again next time. Chanju Simjo Rinpoche, Madepana, Jeju, Devanyamba, Mevanya, Kondo, Tonya Dawa Rinpoche, Madepana, Jeju, Devanyamba, Meva, Kondo, Pewa, Kama Sinjan, and the dead and dangerous. Nyandro Tamja Tato Tonga, the Chanju Simba, Kanda Sushu, Tadaguja, Monon Juji, Carrera Logo, which was dependent on the woman, Jerez or Tindin Jazuki, Shabaside, about the danger.
May the precious holy mind not yet born arise and grow. May that born have no decline but increase forevermore. May the precious mind realizing emptiness not yet born arise and grow. May that born have no decline but increase forevermore. Due to all these merits, may all Father and Mother sentient beings have all the happiness, and may all the lower realms be empty forever. Wherever there are Bodhisattvas, may all their prayers be accomplished immediately. In the sacred land surrounded by snow mountains, you are the source of all benefit and happiness. O powerful Chandrakirti and Gatso, remain in this world until sunset.
Thank you very much.